I declare the construction board meeting to order, and at this time we need to determine a quorum. We'll call roll.
Felicia Smith.
Here.
Kevin Rowland. Here. Rick Duffy.
Here.
David Waldron.
Here.
Doug Stanfield.
Here.
John Yoder's not here, and John Morris is not here. So we do have a quorum.
All right. Do I have a motion for approval of the minutes as mailed?
We do have to revise.
Oh, there is a revision. There were two grammatical errors. One of them was on page 1, and there was a statement there that says, he stated there was a security gate where anyone can just come on the property. That sounded like a misstatement, so
Change that to can't. Right?
Bruce was going to check that, because if it's a gated, you would have to have some kind of access code.
Right.
And then the fourth paragraph on page 2 says that Mr. Stone stated that they have on-site managers and that they live there. They are building a residence office, or they are building, or something to that effect.
I'll make a motion the minutes be approved.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I am going to relinquish the chair for a moment for election of officers to Bruce.
Okay, at this time, the next item on the agenda is to nominate and elect a chairman for a one-year term. So if I could have a motion to nominate and elect a chairman, we will need a second following at this time.
Bruce, I make a motion to keep Mr. Waldron as chairman for another year.
I'll second it.
Any other nominations? All those in favor of nominating and electing David Waldron as chairman for a one-year term, please vote aye.
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 Any opposed, please vote no. I'll vote aye. Congratulations, Mr. Waldron. Now we have nomination and election of a vice chairman for a one-year term. Do I have any nominations?
Bruce, we're not sure if Mr. Yoder is still a resident, correct?
I have been told that he no longer lives within the state. And I have not heard from him prior to this meeting.
Bruce, I'll make a motion for vice chairman go to Rick Duffy.
Nope. I live out of state about 2 months out of the year too. So if there was a problem with that, I probably couldn't be here.
Okay.
So I guess I'll nominate Doug.
I'll second that.
Any other nominations? All those in favor of voting to nominate and elect Doug Stanfield as vice chairman for a one-year term, please vote aye.
Aye.
Anybody against it, please vote no. Congratulations, Mr. Stanfield. You're the vice chair. I'll turn the meeting back over to Chairman Walton.
Do we have a representative here from, well, what's the business name? Okay, on Dick Buchanan Street. Do we have a representative? Would you like to come up to the mic and state your case? We haven't killed anybody in 5 years, but then we haven't met in 5 years.
Please state your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Potter, 410 Buchanan Street, Tennessee.
Thank you.
Thank you all for coming, regardless of whether you I expected. And I already had some kind of contractors or companies not thinking, oh, we're gonna face this. And I had put some money down on the start between, I could proceed with the process and I can move back. That's all I have.
Can you explain to us what you're going to do, what the construction is, and what?
Well, the business is already established. We're trying to expand it to add more products. We already have Latinos products. And with the income that we have is not enough for us to actually succeed on this business. We're thinking of expanding, make it bigger, and bring American products. Hopefully we'll get more business.
So you're going to expand the grocery store,
Yes, sir.
or
Yes, sir.
into 2/3 of the building instead of
Yes,
just
sir.
1/3 of it?
Yes, sir.
Are you expanding the building outside of the existing footprint?
No, just within the same structure of the building.
Where did the problem come in, Randy?
Well, we initially received the application for a permit from Supermercado to, as he stated, to expand his operations. Going from roughly around 4,000 to 8,000 square feet. Wanted to double his square footage. Of course, reviewed his application, submitted some drawings, and referred back to the municipal code where in doing so it would cause him to have to sprinkle the building. And it was pretty much left there. I mean, I denied the permit application based on that until I got a set of sprinkler plans. And of course, the applicant, started weighing out his options, what he might choose to do instead.
Was the expansion over 50% of the existing structure?
Pretty much, yeah. It was going to double in size.
No, not the existing structure, but the existing business.
The space that it was
But
in.
the space is 12,000 feet?
And he presently has about 4,000 square feet, and he wants to double it to 8,000 square feet.
But he will not be
But-
doubling the value of that building by doing so. That's what I'm asking.
You're asking would he increase the value of the building by doing so?
Well, that's kind of what I assumed, or the way I read the ordinance, is that if he increased the value of the building over 50%, or his cost was over 50% of what the existing building is.
Right.
So,
Well, I'm guessing that would increase it by that much, yeah. Because I mean, he's taking 4,000 feet and want to convert that into 8,000.
but he's still not increasing, that's only a third of 12,000 square feet, so how can it be 50% increase? Is what I'm asking.
50% of his tenant space, I guess, the way I'm looking at it.
But
Doubling his tenant space.
is that the intent? I guess that's what we're here to determine. Is that the intent of the ordinance, or we had a similar hearing here several years ago on Parthenon, and it was they were expanding, not expanding outside their footprint, but they were reassigning some space. And what they did was not going to be 50% of the value of the building. And this building, if you're only doing a third of it, I'm having trouble seeing it being 50%. Yes, he's doubling his space, but it's still not going to be 50% of the building.
Well, we're basing it on the fact that if at over 5,000 square feet, this requires it to be sprinkled.
Well, am I misreading what the ordinance says?
Who owns the building? Okay, what's in the other 8,000 square feet of the building that's not being used at this particular time?
At the present time, the current tenant is already renting that space, using it for storage for his existing business.
Okay.
Sir, could you state your name,
Yes.
please, for the record?
My name is Drew Wilczek, address 1792 Coleman Hill Road, Rockville, Tennessee. I am the owner of stated property.
Thank you.
So basically, you got a grocery store in a third of it, there's storing or warehouse in a third of it, and then there's a mechanic shop or a transmission shop or an air conditioning shop in the other third?
Correct, sir.
Okay.
Well, in the ordinance, under section 2, it says renovated buildings shall be defined as construction of a building that is greater than 50% of the estimated cost of the reconstruction of the entire building. So if they're only doing a third of the building, I don't know how the estimated construction, I'm still having trouble seeing that they violate or that number 2 provision.
Chairman Waldron, I mean, this is the second paragraph of that is I have a hard time understanding the definition of this as well. I mean, it's nothing I've ever had to deal with in the past as far as having to either you sprinkle or you don't sprinkle. I mean, we've always followed what the International Building Code, the 2006
Right.
version, currently what it requires you to do and not to do. And I've checked around to try to find what the intent for this is. I've asked a few folks, some long timers that have been around this jurisdiction far longer than I. And of course, obviously, the response I'm getting is just to be proactive rather than reactive on fire suppression systems.
Another thing that I noticed in his application that I think should put some, well, I'm not going to speak for the city because I'm not an elected official, but it looks like that if the city wanted this type of protection, then they should upgrade the water lines in front of his building instead of him having to go out and make that improvement too. If the system is substandard, then that looks like it should be borne by the city.
I just enforce it.
I'm just, you know, I looked at it and any of the other members, I feel like I'm talking too much. I have
No, you're doing fine. What they're talking about is the service coming in off the main. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
The service coming in off the main. How big is the main running down the road?
That I'm not sure of. I would say at least minimum of 8 inch. Or
There's
greater.
some 6 in the city, depending on how old the city is.
Right.
So and then there's a tap fee involved, am I correct? So there's a $6,000 tap fee plus the service going in. I don't know if this is appropriate or not. Can we get a ratio of what's the cost of the sprinkler system versus the cost of the remodel? In round numbers, we don't think we
Okay,
need.
the cost for to get the water into the building, it was gonna cost about $31,000. That's the cheapest estimate I got.
Right.
For the sprinkler system, it was gonna be around $34,000.
So we're looking at $65,000 to
within
put the
that
sprinkler
range.
system
Yes,
in.
sir.
What's the price of the remodel?
The price of the remodel is gonna cost about $120.
120.
110, 120 within that range. That's including the equipment that I'm putting in the price.
When you say equipment, you're talking about shelving and
No, like
stuff?
like the produce coolers and stuff.
Oh, okay.
But that would not be a cost of the construction.
No,
Y'all
no,
would
no,
consider
sir, no,
coolers
no.
a part of the
The
construction.
construction will be like around 20 with the AC will be around 42,000. That's for the construction part of it.
So the construction cost is going to be $42,000, the sprinkler
Within that
system's
range,
going
yes.
to be $65,000.
Yes, sir.
Are you all doing the, contracting the construction yourself,
We're
or is
trying
there
to
a
do it.
contractor?
We're trying to do it ourselves to go the cheaper way.
Okay.
Less expensive, they don't like the word cheap.
Well, I mean, like all the people that I'm bringing in, they all licensed to do the job.
Yeah.
But it's not going through a contractor to do it.
And as long as we issue the permit to the property owner,
Yeah.
Yeah.
he's fine to do the work or sub the work out himself. As long as I issue the permit to the property owner, not to the business operator, Mark here.
All right.
You said you saw a set of blueprint plans, correct?
It's not a
Of
detailed
the-
set of plans, but there are some plans involved. It's basically just a drawing indicating what walls would be intact, what walls would be rebuilt if they're building a partition wall for their stock room area.
Were those submitted before you acquired your funding and made your initial payments to were the plans submitted to the city?
I submitted one plan, but he said it wasn't accurate enough, so I had to get a different drawing to actually show everything accurately before we're gonna do that. But I gave him that at the end when I was filling out this application.
The initial drawings I received from him was on an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, and it was not legible enough. It was, I mean, I couldn't make it out. So I asked him to get us a better set of plans so that we could, you know, determine the square footage rather than just, I mean, it was just straight lines on a piece of paper that didn't have dimensions, and we needed something showing dimensions if there was going to be a wall built or if there, any part of that construction other than just the shell building itself. We needed some drawings on it. Then he provided us an appropriate set of plans.
And at that point, is that when you denied the permit, or after you?
What was that point we discovered that, you know, the scope of the work that he was going to do, the size of his expansion that he was going to do, based on the numbers that were on that set of drawings. And when we reviewed that and realized it was going to be 8,000 square feet, then, you know, it's got to be sprinkled. Just on that, just on that aspect alone.
Because that's what I'm basically what I'm asking is, before, was the denial given before or after you made you acquired your funding and made your initial payments on things?
Well, I mean, I had already the agreement and made the purchase and stuff with some of the equipment and stuff, not thinking I was gonna face this to get. I thought it was just simple about going, showing a drawing of what we're doing, get the permit, and then do the work.
Are you asking for a sprinkler system in the entire 12,000 square foot building, or are you asking it only in the 8,000
On the
square foot?
8,000 square foot.
Just the 8,000?
Yes, sir.
So the other third of the building will not be sprinklered?
Not unless the property owner chooses to do so at the same time.
Randy, is there any interior walls?
Right now there is a wall separating each of the third, or delineating the thirds. There is a wall separating each tenant space in that building at this time, an equal amount, 4,000, 4,000, and 4,000 for a total of 12.
Are they firewalls or anything?
They're probably not rated walls like they would need to be if there was a need for it to be rated. But there's no need for those petitions to be rated at this point. Not with the separation of the uses that are there now. One of them's empty. The middle third. But they're wanting to wreck that wall between the Super Mikado and the vacant spot to combine that into one tenant space.
Just have it that wall, not the entire wall.
I don't know if this information is useful, but for this particular occupancy under our adopted fire code, it would only be required to be sprinkled according to the fire code after it exceeded 12,000 square feet.
Which is the size of the whole building.
I'm sorry.
And that's the size of the whole building, right?
That's correct.
Wait, make your statement. I missed what you said. I heard it, but it didn't tally up.
His occupancy is a mercantile occupancy.
Mm-hmm.
It would not be required to be sprinkled through the fire code until it exceeded 12,000 square feet.
But we have an ordinance in the city.
City that lowers it to 5.
Right.
Even if you look at the $120,000, it's hard for me to imagine that is 50% of the whole value of that building, though, under any circumstances. I know due to the recession, the values are depressed and everything else. So I think that's where I've got my hang up anyway, is on that. And like you said, it's somewhat ambiguous, and we've just kind of, and that's what we're here for, is to determine that.
Mm-hmm.
I had asked Bruce to check when we listened to a similar plea on behalf of Parthenon, to look up what was done then, just for reference. And I know that was a minuscule, it was not a third of the building is what they did. But it was under the 50%. And we have heard of a case previously similar to this.
Right, the Parthenon Metalworks on Murfreesboro Road and Parthenon Boulevard, the square footage of the plant compared to the area of the steel storage area that was in question, they're only looking at about 10,000 square feet, whereas the entire plant was 250,000 square feet. So obviously the size is quite a bit different there.
But it was under the 50%, and that's why we granted that exclusion.
To the building owner, what's the value of the building to you?
That building was just appraised this last month. It would have been about $550,000 for that building and lot.
What is it zoned?
It was originally zoned industrial. It received a variance to commercial for the market 3 years ago from the city of Vergne.
So it's zoned commercial
Yes,
now?
sir.
Any other questions or comments from the board?
What exactly is it in the other end of the building?
Right now, it is a mechanic shop.
I guess speaking to you, it seems fruitless to sprinkler 2/3 of a building. Am I right?
Yes and no. If you were to sprinkle a portion of the building, 2/3 of the building, I would expect that there's going to be some type of fire separation between the two occupancies.
Exactly.
And
At least.
that would be a must. But I think if I were going to sprinkle my building, at one point I'd want it all sprinkled.
Right. You ought to be sprinklered 100%.
Yeah.
My-
If it were mine, but of course, obviously it's not.
Yeah.
That's just me speaking personally.
And maybe this is an inappropriate question. Is the occupant going to be responsible for the sprinklering,
Yes, sir.
or not you as the owner?
No, sir.
Randall, would it be appropriate, maybe in lieu of sprinklers, to ask that they upgrade that partition between the mechanic shop and the grocery?
I would want that. That was our hopes that the separation between a mechanic's use
And
and a mercantile use, there should be some fire separation between the two.
yeah, and they could upgrade that with 5/8 drywall and some.
Two layers of. Yeah, it can easily be accomplished.
Yeah.
A firewall can very
Right.
easily be established between separation units.
And then that would give both sides protection that way.
Right.
You'd have protection from the
One
mechanic
from the
shop,
other.
and then the mechanic shop would have protection if there was a fire.
One from the other, right? From grade to
All the way up to
rafters
metal.
into the metal roof, right?
There's not even returns on that like in residential multifamily, is there?
Pardon?
There's not even returns, you know,
No plenum, no returns of any kind,
as long as it goes all the way to metal.
from floor to deck.
Yeah, okay.
You said it's presently, the grocery store's using it as a warehouse now. Will 100% of the new addition be grocery store, or will it be partial warehouse, partial grocery store?
It'll be the grocery store, only the back of it will be like the shelf of the stock or
How much square foot will be,
Just like a one shelf, just we put the extra stuff.
oh,
According to the plans that they submitted, their stock room is relatively small. He explained that most of their merchandise that comes in, they shelve.
Put it on the shelf.
Shelve it right away.
So it's not like they were only doing half of that section or
Right.
anything, so it's majority.
A stock room, like any other grocery, would have, area in the back for storing.
Do I hear a motion or recommendation from the board?
What was your construction cost again, 42,000?
Sorry?
42,000 for your construction costs?
Yeah, within that range.
and the sprinkler was gonna cost 65,000.
How many estimates did you get on the sprinkler system?
I'm sorry?
How many estimates did you get on the sprinkler system?
I got 2 for each one for bringing the water in. Well, I got like 3 of them, I think for each one. Like they're 2 separate, with the woman that's gonna bring the water into the building and this sprinkler system separate.
And the one that's attached on here is the cheapest of the 3?
I'm sorry?
The one that's submitted is the cheapest?
That
of
was
the
the
3?
cheapest of that, yes, sir.
David, you got any ideas? You got any opinion?
Say, give them up there.
Let me ask one more question. Is there a restaurant in there where they're cooking and serving food?
At the present time, yes, there is.
Will there be afterwards?
It will stay, not as, it serves food to go, there is no place to sit.
Okay.
Yeah, there's only a service.
But there's still a kitchen and they're cooking back
There is
there.
already an existing kitchen.
Is there, from code standpoint, is there appropriate
Yes, sir.
fire protection for the grill and,
A fully in-service hood system with all their cooking equipment located within, underneath that hood system. And I believe Mr. Blair can comment on that too, but I think the hood system now was a
That's
good
an
check.
Ansel.
It's
That's
an
an
Ansel.
Ansel
Okay.
system.
what was your comment, that it was there?
It's an Ansel system, yes.
Okay.
Ansel being the type of propellant
Right.
that's put on the fire, or put
Yeah, I
on a
understand.
fire situation.
Is there any other hazards? Because that's classified high hazard there, am I correct? The hood and all that?
It's not a high hazard, but I mean, it's a risk involved with having
Right.
cooking equipment. Anytime you've got a deep fat fryer, in my opinion, you've got a
Is there any other
smoking
risks
gun.
in the building besides an appropriate grocery store?
And
Not to my knowledge.
No.
The mechanic shop.
unlike any other grocery, I mean, in Food Line, Kroger's, Publix, they've all got these delis where they fry chickens and prepare cooked food, fried foods and what have you, with cooktops, deep fat fryers. Everything has to be located under a hood system when you have any kind of cooking equipment. Type K type extinguishers for deep fat fryers and so forth and so on.
And that is?
Pardon?
And I said, and that is done correctly?
Yes, sir, it is.
Okay.
They're in compliance with their hood system, cooking equipment at this time.
Is it partitioned off, the cooking area partitioned off anyway from the actual store itself? Behind any
It's
type of
not,
partition?
probably not a petition, no. I mean, it's open. Again, I'll let Mr. Blair.
Yeah, it's open, it backs up to the petition wall between their space and the empty space adjacent to it.
Would it be appropriate or better to put that into a separate room if the building was not sprinklered? Wouldn't matter?
I would be hesitant to put, if it's any gas equipment in there, if you start confining the space
Yeah.
with gas-fired equipment, you're creating more of a hazard than a burn situation.
Okay.
You know, adequate combustion air for any gas-fired appliances is a must. If you start trying to confine that space with any type of gas-fired equipment in there, you're putting yourself at risk.
Okay, I've got a question. So if it's up against the wall that's going to be tore down, is it going to be moved?
That wall where the kitchen at, the wall is gonna remain. We only open in like a third of the whole entire wall, which is just like an opener for the people to be able to access both areas.
Okay.
But the wall where the kitchen is gonna remain stainless steel with the hood and all, everything's gonna remain.
It'll still continue to be a calculated space within the grocery, like any other department would be a produce department, a meat department, or in this case, a deli.
You got a motion?
No, I'll leave you do it.
Is it appropriate for the chair to make a motion?
You can, yes.
All right. I am going to make the motion that we grant the variance based on a firewall being constructed between the mechanic shop and the grocery to UL standards as is in the fire code, and give a variance on the sprinkler.
If it's approved, I will assure you as a board that I will have them redraw those plans to show me that there will be a rated wall, a 1 hour rated wall between, and I'll have them resubmit the plans with that on those plans, and we can inspect accordingly.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right. Roll call vote. Mr. Richards?
Felicia Smith,
No.
Kevin Rowland,
No.
I'm gonna say
Mr.
yes.
Duffy? Mr. Waldron,
Yes.
Mr. Stanfield.
Yes.
So the motion passes 3-2.
Any other business to come before this board? Declare it adjourned.